Howdy, Beefalo Bart here, and welcome. This is the late but ever-present Wednesday State of the Game, and just general questions and answers. So, what I will do while I'm waiting for everybody to get in here, because I usually start at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and, well, life happened. So, I'm a little bit late getting started, so I started directly at 10, and barely just got home in time to do that. So, alright. To get things going, as you see in the screen in front of you, there is nothing. I am not going to show anything from the game, but I will talk about it. The stuff that is going on is still mostly behind the scenes. We do have a lot of stuff already set up, ready to rock and roll. There's 2 maps, pretty well and pretty far along the way. Howdy and welcome, Red Wings. With the 2 maps that are going on side by side, I've got one person is primarily focusing on one, and then 2 of us are working side by side on another map, and we're going to get these done. You know, time is kind of short for those of you wanting to see something before Paragon goes away, but you know, we'll do what we can. Try to get something out before then. But progress is going along quite lovely, and like I said, a lot of the stuff that's going on is 100% behind the scenes, and would not be very interesting to watch, like most of my videos. Sorry. So, while everybody's piling in and coming up with your questions on what you want to ask, I'm just going to fiddle around with this on the screen. So if you've got any general questions also about Unreal Engine 4, what I did was I created a blank project, nothing. I mean, if you look over here and I open up this, underneath my content folder, there is nothing, and nothing here. So, giving us a blank project to work with while we're talking, I can do pretty much anything that I want. I can come over and add feature or content pack. Now, what I would like to do is come up with my own starter pack system, because the one that comes with it, if you just do a small project and try to get it published and try to make it to where you can, you know, have other people play and join and that kind of stuff, you're automatically going to be at almost 700 megabytes just by having the regular starter pack or starter content. So what I usually do, if I use it, is I nuke a lot of the stuff out of it. But let's start off with, let's go with the blueprint feature. And there's so many different things you can do when you're starting off with the games. You got first person, flying, puzzle. I still have yet to do anything with the puzzle. I might do something later on with that, but same with the rolling. Haven't done anything with that. Third person is the usual, and for anybody that wants to make a first person shooter, if they ever plan on making it into a multiplayer game, do not choose the first person option while you're creating your new project, because you're only left with a set of arms holding a gun, and you're not going to see everybody the way that you should. It's a lot more difficult to actually make a multiplayer game out of first person. So if you want a first person shooter, use a third person template, and I'll go ahead and load that up. And if you do choose a third person project and you're going to make a first person game, then it is so easy. And again, one of the things I always tell everybody to do is get organized first off. Third person blueprint folder is going to contain your third person character and third person game mode and example, and you know, the data map for it. So you don't really need these things. What I usually do is I go to content, make a new folder, and just call that characters. And then in here, I go ahead and make my blueprints folder. And you can add more into that. I usually do mesh and that kind of stuff as well. But for now, let's go ahead and let's make up a new folder from our root content. And we're just going to call this modes. Because there's more than one mode you'd want to save, like maybe a save game, things like that. So we can come over here, take our third person character, and we need to make sure that our blueprints is available. Drag that over, and I'm going to go ahead and move it there. Third person game mode, I'm going to move that to the modes folder. Going to hit save all. Now, you're not going to be able to, by doing it this way, you're going to have invisible files there. You can't really delete this folder. And maps as well, create a new folder in the root called maps. So when you do create a new map, then you can create it inside of here and save it inside of here. And that way you'd know where your maps are. And then another one would be a good one to have is called assets. Now this would be a good place for sound files and images and materials and things of that nature. We're not going to need the maps folder. So shoot me some questions while I'm screwing around with this stuff. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to rename my third person character by hitting F2, and I'm going to call this player underscore base. I do this all the time just because I can create a base character, and then whenever I'm ready to make another version of him, I can right click and create a child blueprint class. And anything that I do in that child actor from the master, you don't have to copy all the stuff inside of here. It's going to work just by proxy that it is a child of that one. So if you want to do anything that controls your movement and things of that nature, do it in your player base, but then you can actually play off of your other characters you create from there. And as a good prime example, you know, if you wanted to add a new character in, you know, the one thing you can do is go ahead and create a folder for a mesh, and another folder for could be whatever we want for materials. So I'm waiting on you guys to come up with some questions. I see people coming in, people going back out, but if you have questions about the state of the game that's going on with our current project, please shoot them to me. You know, I'm waiting on crowd participation on that. You know, I've covered as much as I really need to cover on it right now, but I'm an open book. Ask away. So our mesh folder is empty, materials is empty, blueprints just has our player base. We can come over to our mannequin folder and our character folder, grab a copy of our SK mannequin, left click, drag, drop on mesh. And we can go ahead and do the same thing for our materials. Grab these two guys and copy them into our materials folder. And if we wanted to go ahead and just create a new color, start with this one. Select your body color box here. This is for the chest logo. Come in here and create a color. Let's give them a nice minty green. And I'll drag that color up here so I can save it. Okay, and save. And then go into our main one. Ignore everything you see. Just right click and scroll over until you come up to the body color. Click on it. Click on your default value. Click on here. Click OK. And save. And now you have a new material that you can apply to your new character. So once it's done doing its stuff here, we'll go on to the next part, which is really simple. You can actually change your the materials and your regular player. So if you went into your regular player and you want to change because an event happened, you're agreeing with envy, so whatever, some event happened and you want your character to now have that green color or red color or yellow color. Or if you're fighting, if you're using the default UE4 mannequins and suddenly a neutral one turned hostile, it'll go from yellow to red. And you can change them within the blueprints. But what I'm going to do is rename this guy to green underscore man. And I can go into them. My material slots, come in here and doing the... Oh, we need to rename him the materials. So let's rename the body one to green underscore body, so we know what we're looking at. And green chest. So now when we go into our green man, we know what we're looking at. green body, and green logo. You don't have to change the logo as well, but if you wanted to, you can do it a different color. So you have like a different medallion, make it gold, make it purple, whatever. So that's it. To make that work, go to your blueprints, right click, create child blueprint class, and we're going to call him green man underscore BP. So, questions about the game. Everybody's jumping in and jumping out, so if nobody's asking questions, I'm not going to answer anything. I was planning on keeping this stream a little short tonight, but I'll make it even shorter if nobody's got any questions. So, right now, our game mode, we want to set to third-person game mode. If we go in here and play, you can see we're our normal UE4 mannequin, but now we can come in here and open up here, go from player underscore base to green man, and hit play, and now we're green. Cool. So anything we do in player base is going to translate naturally over to that guy. So if I want to add a camera, and yeah, it was supposed to be up at 9. I had to take care of a family emergency, and you know, it popped up right at 8:30. I had to leave, and then by the time I came back, it was about a quarter till. I know. I need to stick with my timelines, and again with Sunday, I completely missed on Sunday because I was down sick and didn't stream until Monday. So I'm just really being bad right now. So to recap on the game stuff, essentially everything is going smooth, everything looks lovely. And you know, with the way things are going right now, the 2 maps that are under construction are looking really good. I've shown off one of the maps to our investors, our affiliates, and got positive responses back from them, and showed it off to some of the other guys on the team that are doing other stuff, and they liked it as well. So I know that the 2 maps that we do have that are under construction right now, both are looking really good and are looking really clean. I tend to have a lot of OCD issues, and I'm very, very weird about having everything symmetrical. If you're going to have something that's going to be the same on either side, then try to keep everything based off of that 0 axis on your map, so that if you're going to place an item, like if I want to place a cylinder here, and I look at the details, well, 300, 160, well, let's see, if I did it at 0, 0, then it's going to be right there, dead center in the map. But if I want to place 2 of them side by side, I'll grab it and I'll slide this over to 200. And I'll hit Control C and then Control V to create a copy of it. And instead of just sliding it over and like, well, that looks about right. And I can see on my transform location right here that I am at -200. So both of them are now at -200. I can grab both, and by Control left clicking, move them over so they're on top, and they're going to be symmetrical. If I want to make changes to them so that they're identical, I can do 0.3, 0.3, and 1.5, and then move them up. So now whenever I do go into play, I have both of them there, and they're both symmetrical. You know, the 1.5, let's go back with a 1.2 and lower them back down. And then what'll make them to be just a little bit above, well, they're just about right now. I'd still like to go down just a hair more. You'll see what I'm doing here in just a second. Let's actually go with 0.1 0.1. Yep. 0.1. 0.1. And let's go with 1.1. Take a look at them. Looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and add our starter content. Come up to add feature content pack, content packs, starter content, and add. So progress for the game and projections of what we're going to be doing and how we're going to be putting things out is I would like to get and maintain focus on the maps, maintain focus on the core architecture of the game itself to make sure that everything is replicating correctly, because it doesn't do any good to create these really cool animations and getting all the characters working and everything looking awesome if you can't actually do anything with them. So we want everything to work and work correctly. So when we do start dumping characters and players into a map, multiplayer replication to where if you swing a sword, I see you swinging a sword. If I cast an ability, then you can see that ability being cast by me. So everything has to be replicated back and forth. And it doesn't automatically, just because I say, okay, I hit this right mouse button, I'm going to do ability 1. And okay, it looks beautiful on my end, but you just see me over there standing still. So if it's not replicated, then the game's just not going to handshake correctly and it's not going to look good. So I'm going to grab this, my player start, and get him out of the way. Okay, what I did was I created 2 poles there, and I'm going to select my glass, select geometry, grab a box, drop it in the map, and I'm going to 0, 0, 100. I'm going to change the Z height to 100. I'm going to change the Y, actually X, to 5. And then, now let's try 400 for the Y, because on the gray of the bottom here, each one of these tiles, the gray, big gray, dark gray, 100, 100, 100. And then you can break it down by tens inside the middle of it. So we can now drag this down a little bit and see if it's going to fit. And let's take a look at it. Sticking up just a hair. We don't want it to touch the ground, because if we do touch the ground, it's going to look a little awkward. So we want it to be about right there on the pole. So we're going to actually have to make this. We're going to take it down to 90 and drag it down. It's not going to snap where I want, so I'll turn off snapping and drag it to where I want it. It'll do what I want, or I'll make it do what I want. So what we've done just then is we created a glass railing between 2 chrome poles. Isn't that awesome? So now, if you wanted to, now here's the thing is, you've got a regular basic geometry and a BSP geometry, and if you were to try, right click on this and convert actors to static mesh, go to our assets folder, and we'll call this fence, whatever, and click OK. And then we go to our assets folder. We now have a static mesh, and we could drag it in here, but what happened was it did not save our glass, because it didn't like the fact that I'm trying to save a BSP and a regular geometry, so it's not going to work. So I'll put that there, and the height of these guys are at 70, so I can match that with these guys, because this is an actual static mesh now. I can place these poles wherever I want them to. So if I wanted to do this, I could drag this over to here. So to know my offset, well, if this is 400 in between there, then I can set my offset now to 200, and then I could do Control C and Control V, and it didn't work. Sometimes you have to click off of it and click back on, and Control C, Control V, and now when you paste that one in, you can either try to get it perfect, but what's going to happen is now you have one pole on top of the other. But at least you do have your original glass piece that you can go back over and copy that. If you were to now click on the BSP geometry, if you did everything in BSPs, then you could actually scroll down and combine them together into a single static mesh like we did there. But now I can just do Control C and Control V, and the one thing I am going to do is drag it over here. I'm going to grab my two fences, and I want to change them so that they're lined up correctly. So I grab one. Let's put this at 300. And we'll grab this one and put it at 300. So they are symmetrical left and right, forward and backwards, and up and down. And that is really important when you're starting to line up things, because now whenever I want to drag this over here, if I want to figure out where I'm going to go with it, I know that I can just put in 300 by 200 and it's in the right place. So if I click off of it again and make another version of it, I can do the same thing again, but this time do 300 and negative 200, and it's perfectly lined up. So now if I go in here, what's going to happen is I can walk over this and it doesn't let me through. Same thing for this, but what will happen is these poles don't have any collision. They're not going to be a problem because I have the glass there, and the glass is going to stop me. So if you're trying to make some railings and you're not worried about the poles all that much having collision, then that's a good way to go about it. If you wanted to combine it all together, give you a prime example of, let's create another piece of glass. We'll drop it at negative 200 and 0 and 75 for our height. So if we create a cylinder here, it's going to be rather huge, but the trouble is you can change it to 12 sides and the outer radius of 20. You start getting smaller and smaller and smaller, then the materials are not going to apply to it as nicely as it would if you're using the regular basic geometry. So if we brought it down even more to 10, I mean, we could even try 5. It'll work, but again, the materials just won't work very well. So we want our height now to be our Z. Let's put that at 120. And our location, let's go ahead and do negative 200 by 200, and 75 is going to be wrong, but let's try it anyway. It wasn't too bad. So 80 will work. So now that we've done that, we can actually Control C and Control V, make another one of those, and we'll move it to the negative 200 and negative 200. Now when you combine BSPs, once I do this and this and this, so I have all 3 of them selected, and you can make some more changes to the height of this. You know, if you wanted to do that, then uncheck these 2, change your Z height to 110, and then move this to 75. Looks a little better for our railing. So now once we add our glass in, now you can come over here and the actor itself can usually have a way of, but you need to make sure you do it individually, because if you have one still selected another way, it's just not going to work. They're all additive. Brush shapes are all going to be different. And yeah, sometimes it just, Unreal Engine 4 does weird stuff. So if I select our cylinder and try to put a material on there, I didn't select a material beforehand because I know what was going to happen. It was going to scrunch them all together because it's trying to fit that whole material on that little sliver of the width right there. So if I grab a material now from our starter content, and if we wanted to do the chrome material, it doesn't look too bad, but we can also click on one of the faces on it. There's what we want. We want to click on the face, and then on geometry, select all adjacent surfaces, and then go ahead and scroll up, left click to apply our material to it. Same thing here. You just want to click one of the faces, select all adjacent, and there. You know, sometimes I don't. There we go. Under our brush settings, now we have all three of them created, and they all have materials to them. I can go ahead and create a static mesh, and then go back to my assets folder and do the same thing, and we call this railing, and create. So now we've created that as a static mesh we can place anywhere, and it has the glass attached to it. So now if I go to my assets folder, we have two. The one we tried to save that was a mixture of the two did not work because it created the just the standards and not the BSP, so it did not include both of them. So I'll delete that and show you. So now we got our railing in here. We can go ahead and set our height. I believe it was to 75. We can do 200 and 0. So now we're in the center and we have our static mesh, but it's not going to stop us. We can walk right through it. But there is a quick fix to that. I'm going to go ahead and hit save all. And we'll just call this test. Put it in our maps folder and save. So now if you double click on your railing that we created with our BSP geometries, then instead of trying to do like you would have to on some things of changing your collision complexity, I wouldn't go that route. What I would do is actually go to collision. This is a simplified collision. You could actually just do a box simplified collision and wrap it around there. Yes, Cloaked Eye. Already discussed most of it, so if you got any questions about it, please jump right in and ask. You know, that's why I created the Q&A session and as a live stream, so people could jump in and ask questions about it. Apologize that I was an hour late getting started. So by adding the simplified, it gave us an actual collision now. I hit save. Well, considering the original game took about 2.5 years to create, yeah, I don't think we're going to be looking at that kind of time frame. So, yeah, not with having the stuff that we have now to create the games with, like this Unreal Engine 4. The fact that it's so easy to work with, and depending on how you set it up to begin with, and yeah, I was sick all throughout the weekend. That was why I didn't get the Sunday services done. So I do apologize on not getting that done until Monday, and then being an hour late tonight because I had some family things I had to take care of. So family comes first, naturally, and everybody on my team is working. The majority of the people that are on the team are part-timers. They work a regular job, and they're only working on their spare time. They might get an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours here and there out of most of the guys on there. It's hard to get anybody to dedicate, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, 7. Myself, I'm sometimes working 7 days a week on this project, and the majority of stuff that I do, 90% of it's behind the scenes. So yeah, we're not going to have a 2-year development cycle on this. Even though it's a small team working on it, it's not going to take that long. However, the projected goal right now is, since time's running short, 24 days before the Paragon servers go down. What the goal is to have two, and I don't want to get into too much detail on the two maps, but to have at least one good solid map that everything is right. It looks good, works good, everything is functional on it, and everything works the way that it should be. Having that and the other map completed and functioning as they should is not going to be a problem to have it scheduled for that prior to the 28th. Okay? Even with the limited work schedule that I've got with the people that I've got, I want to have something prepared with at least one good solid play map where you can get out there and at least have that good to go. And we're shooting for at least, worst case scenario, one map, one character. Okay? That's a worst case scenario in less than a month's time. So, with that being said, there's going to be more. It's not just going to be one map and one character. I would like to have 5 characters, but we'll see how time goes. I've got different people working on characters, different people working on maps. I've got different people working on different cosmetic things with the game interface. Myself, I'm doing background stuff. The stuff you'll almost never see, the guts of the game, so to speak. So even though I may only get an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, maybe on a good day 4 or 5 hours at best of work on the actual visible aspects of the game, the majority of the stuff that I do involves and takes up a lot of my time. All right, Tyler, thanks for stopping by. But yeah, there will be something to play with prior to the server shutting down. We want you to be able to go from there to here, kind of like an after party, so to speak. That's what my thoughts are, is to have an after party for, okay, they pulled the plug on the game, everybody's kicked out of the servers, what are they going to do now? So yeah, that's the plan. We are looking at Steam as the primary platform. We've got a good minion spawn system. The abilities are what my OCD. I got to make sure that everything is perfect. As for offline version, the one thing that I am trying to get done, once we get the AI behavior trees working better, then I want there to be an option for you to play solo. No, with the game that I'm creating with my team, Epic will have nothing to complain about whatsoever. I am going through all of the headaches now to ensure the fact that there's not going to be any chance of any legal actions on release of the game. Because the fact that Paragon technically is not dying. Epic has sold the Paragon franchise to Tencent out of China. Okay, so technically speaking, Paragon is still a live game and is owned by somebody and is actively being used on servers. So yeah, technically speaking, it's not being killed. It's just not being done in the United States. It's not being offered on a North American server. So yeah, like I said, there's so much stuff that I'm doing that's behind the scenes that honestly most people will never see. And I'm going through the headaches now so that everything will go smoothly on release day. There's a lot of people that are out there trying to make 100% clones of it, and they're going to run into issues if they go out there and they're using the name Paragon in the title. They're going to run into issues if they don't have everything set up. You have to, not necessarily, but yes, necessarily, you have to plan for failures. You have to plan ahead for potential problems. You know, like a little simple thing like these railings. You know, if there's no railing to prevent my character from coming over here and falling off the map, well, I can just easily jump over the railing and fall to my death. Hey, I needed to file a complaint ticket because my character fell off the map. Well, you need to prevent players from doing dumb things too, not just legal repercussions. You have to plan for stupid, so to speak. I'm a gamer. I do dumb things all the darn time whenever I play games. I'm good for it. I know I am. If there's a potential chance for me to find a bug or a way for me to get outside the map, I'm going to give it a shot. So, that's just the nature of the beast. You're always going to have people that are going to try to find ways to get in and out of the game. So you have to come up with a method of confining the players to the game and keep them from falling out. Because if they fall out and their character gets stuck, then it's just one of those things where you're going to run into issues. So little thing like what I'm doing right now is creating a rail system, and the rail is just purely cosmetic. It's, as you've seen, I can just jump right over this and be done with it. So we can do 300 and negative 400. So I'm just going to show as a brief example here what little things are going to have to be done to help prevent the player from being able to come over here and okay, I can just and I can jump over and die, because I can get out of the map here. I don't want players to be able to get out of the map. So little things like I can do a blocking volume, and I can take this and drop it into the map, and I can scale it. Make sure that I'm at 0, 0, 0. That way whenever I scale it, I can get it over the edges of the map. And I want to make it so tall that a player can't jump and get over it. And then I want to put it right just at the edge. So there's all these little things that have to be done prior to kicking a game out the door. See, now I can jump, but I can't get over the fence. And I can't even land on top of it, so I can prevent players from being able to do dumb stuff. And yes, I would have to do the same thing on every aspect all the way around. So it's all those little things you've got to do on these maps to make sure that, just like whenever we did our railing there, the first railing came out, there was no collision on it. And, well, that could be a problem, because if there's no collision on it, then the player can just walk right through it and get to where they are not supposed to be. Same thing goes with abilities. Once your map is there and it's bulletproof, everything is great, player can't walk through it. Well, the bane of existence for everybody on my team so far is the ability for ones that use teleports or moving from point A to point B with like dash as an example. Um, just like I have to create this thing to keep my player from falling out of the world. What happens now is you're sitting here with Shinbi, you're aiming this direction over here, you hit that right mouse button to do your dash, and then bang, you get your character gets moved a certain distance forward to a new location. Well, that's cool. It's great. Same thing with the teleport. The teleport ability, you're going to go from point A to point B, and because the ability said you can. So, prime example here. And this is just a basic little object here. There's an object here on the map. There's a wall, we'll say. And we'll grab this wall so it looks like a wall. And you know that someone's dodging and they're trying to hide behind this wall so that you can't get to them. And do actually 1 by 5 2. Nope. So there's a wall here, and you want to get away from somebody that's about to kick your butt. And you go ahead and you're right here. Well, if you're Shinbi, you can use your dash ability because you're looking in this direction, and it will teleport you through the wall. So what you've got to do is you have to create a check system in the background of it to say, hey, I'm going to do dash. Well, I can't. There's like no room between me and what's in front of me. The distance from point A to point B is null. There's an obstruction in the way that is a blocking obstacle. Dash, the correct method for doing dash is where it's also been a problem for players and for people making this stuff, is dash is not a teleport. It doesn't say, okay, I am here, this is the location where dash is going to carry me. I'm not going to teleport from point A to point B. That's not what dash does. Dash puts you in what looks like the jump loop animation. So it's like for animations, I'll grab this. It's very similar to, we'll say this. You're actually not touching the ground. You're sliding from point A to point B along that line. Launch is okay, but what'll happen is the launch feature isn't 100% safe. And occasionally you'll get what we call a double jump because, you know, the launch thing, prime example, I'll create a new blueprint. We're going to make this an actor and call it launcher, and we're going to add a component which is going to be a cube. We'll take that cube and make it 0.2, length the dimensions 2 by 2, and then add another component which is going to be a box collision. And that box collision, we need to go ahead and size it up to 1.5 by 1.5 by 5, and then I'll bring it up here. So now you have a launch pad, and what you want to do is on component begin overlap, you want to cast, actually let's cast from the other actor, cast to player underscore base, which is my actual player, and any player that uses that as its parent. And then we'll do launch character, and we're going to go ahead and add in 750 for our Z. Now you can change that whenever you actually do it, but you actually have to have the forward vector of where you're going to be launching towards, and it makes it a little bit more complicated. But just for this example, we're going to go with a Z-axis, which is going to just throw us straight up in the air. And I can grab my launcher and set it right here. You can jump and dash. If you fall off the edge and dash, you fly across the map. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is there's so many issues with the ability. So you see, I was able to use that little bit of ability here to spring me up to get me over that, but I didn't put a yeah, I didn't put my blocking volume on both sides. So we need to make sure we block our player from falling off on both sides. So let's actually do both of them, set them to 500. That looks good. And then Control C, Control V, and then I'll do a quick rotation. And then move it over here. So yeah, with the blocking volume is what I need to keep my character inside the map with an invisible boundary. So now, as I'm playing with my character and doing the launcher, I'm not going to accidentally fall out of the map here with this little small tiny terrain that I'm working with. So yeah, what will happen is from time to time, launch player, that command will actually double jump and it'll just launch you a little bit farther than you really expect it to go. And change that to 1500, compile, save. So now, as you can see, that was just enough for me to land on top of the nav mesh bounds, or the boundary. So just like with this right here, you end up having to create a system to block the player from jumping out of the map. There's a lot of things to take into consideration on these things. We'll bring it back down to 750. So with that, you've got to have a system for your player to be able to to basically hover and travel across the ground. I know, stupid UE4 tricks here. You can hover on a launch pad, but when you do it, you've got to make sure that you have a system of checks in place that whenever you are doing that, and I use, well, I don't give away all my secrets, you know, but use a system of checks so you can check to see if it is clear, and if it is not clear, then you need to tell it to travel the amount of distance that is clear minus, we'll say 200 or whatever, so that instead of it traveling to that location, it doesn't stick your nose right into it. It gets that same distance and then it backs it off a little bit, so you'll appear right in front of it instead of teleporting or traveling through an object. So you actually have that system set up to do a check to make sure that I can use my ability, because if I'm using a teleport, then I don't want to teleport through a wall. I don't want players teleporting through a wall. If I use dash right now as I'm facing this wall, then technically speaking, if I didn't put those systems of checks in place, it's going to cause my player to be able to teleport through a wall. And what happens if the end destination is inside of a wall? Now this player is inside that wall. They're invisible to everybody else on the map, and they can cheat or hack or whatever else. But the good thing about it is, if your collisions are set wrong on things that aren't visible anyway, they're liable to fall through the map and die. So again, that's why I am so OCD about so many little things. I have rejected probably 6 different versions of Dash alone because it didn't function the way that I wanted it to. And this is coming from, and yes, a lot of people know that are a member of my Discord, they watch my videos and so forth. You know, you guys know I never played Paragon. I never got into it. But if I'm going to make this game, I'm not going to make it half-assed. I'm not going to just throw a piece of garbage out there just to try to get you suckered into come playing it or to come spend money with me. I'm not out of this to sucker anybody. If I'm going to make a game, I'm going to make it everything right. I don't care. I'm not going to have a 2-year development because I'm not going to spend 2 years building this game. But what I can do is build one damn good map, get everything right on it, get one character and everything right on that one character. And to me, that's progress. To have everything bulletproof and working right off the bat, to try to release the game exactly as it was, or as is now, or was last year, or whatever else, isn't going to happen in a month. If it does happen in a month, then there's some shortcuts that person's making, or that team is making, or whatever else, and you're going to see it, and you're going to know that it's garbage. And they're going to spend more time later trying to chase bugs down. And then when they realize that that bug that they're trying to chase down is not fixable without actually having to start almost from scratch. Yeah. Not saying that I wish that on anybody's team, but if you try to rush through the parts that seem boring just so you can get out there and start whacking shit with a stick, or being able to pump those abilities, or worrying about getting your ultimates or whatever else, if you're just worried about that kind of junk, then you're just putting out junk, and I'm not going to put out junk. The way I look at it, and I'm going to give this example one more time. A lot of people have already heard me make this example before, and I'm probably going to say it a few 100,000 more times again. So you know, my example was the game Motor City Online. And if you're not familiar with Motor City Online, it was a car racing game, and it was MMO where you could go in, you started off with a crappy car, you did races, you earned money, you could buy parts, whatever, and it was a great game. There was a lot of detail put into setting up your car, setting it up the way you wanted to, putting custom paint jobs on it, parts from the auctions, and there's so many things that you could do. And it was a small crowd of people that actually enjoyed it. Yes, this is how you can force a double jump. When you actually step onto the pad, jump, and then 1 second after you touch the pad, then it launches you in the air. So, with the game, there was a small crowd that played it. It was a dedicated crowd, maybe 25,000 regular players that really just loved the game, loved everything about it because it used classic hot rods, and it was a good following, and people really, really loved that game. I love that game. I played that game so much that I actually had 4 accounts, and we'll get into all that. But the whole point was, this was a game that I loved. It was my life. I spent every day in that game, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 hours a day playing this game, because not only did I play the game, but I was into e-commerce. I was actually selling stuff like cars and money and stuff from the game on eBay, and that game was my living. That's how I paid my bills. That's how I ate. That's how I got to be fat, is sitting around making money off of MMOGs. So the day that game closed, all of those players that were in that game were so pissed off with EA Games that they even created a group called EASucks.com. I mean, there was so much hatred for EA because they shut down that game. Well, they figured, okay, it'll be really cool. We'll give you Earth and Beyond. You can play that. We'll give you that game for free. And hey, if you want it, we'll give you The Sims Online for free. Well, not 6 months after they gave us Earth and Beyond for free, but still made us pay $10 a month, they shut that game down. Well, shit, So that left me with The Sims Online. I got into that game. I started doing really good and had a good following, and that was awesome, and enjoyed it. Then EA shut that son of a bitch down. Games get closed, and these things are like Motor City Online was my life. It was what I did every day. It's how I paid my bills. And whenever they shut it down, it was heartbreaking. And a bunch of people got together and they tried to make a new version of Motor City Online. They made mods for other games to try to make it look like the original. And it was just, not saying that it was crap. It was good intentions, but those good intentions didn't bring back Motor City Online. There was a group that offered me $25,000 to actually make Motor City Online. And I literally have thought about actually making that game again on Unreal Engine 4. But, you know, this project jumped in. I see the community. I see how dedicated the Paragon community is, and how, and I look at videos on YouTube, and I look at websites, and I'm doing my homework on Paragon, and to be honest, some of you son of bitches, I can't even understand you. You're talking like you're speaking a foreign language. You're slang terms for the different abilities and this, not everything else. I don't understand what the hell you guys are saying. I'm like, are you speaking English? I don't understand. And okay. And that also shows dedication. That is what you know. You get into it, and that's what you enjoy. I was like that with The Division. I was like that with World of Tanks, World of Warships. I was like that with other games too. But, you know, it's the dedication. I see how much people enjoy that game, and how much they're mad that the game's going away. And why not give my very best to try to put something out there instead of just shoveling out a piece of garbage that everybody will know is garbage. Alright, so we got 80 more questions before I go ahead and get ready to shut this thing down. Because I'm a fat kid and I haven't eaten since sometime around 6 hours ago. And I sometimes will sit here and work on this game project and not eat but one meal a day. I've sat here for as much as 22 hours straight in front of this computer working on stuff for this game. And it's not just working on the game components and the game characters and the maps and that kind of stuff. There's so much stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and I'm not talking about just the coding and stuff in the game, but dealing with affiliates and dealing with whatever's going on with my team and coordinating with my team on everything. Yeah, going by the videos that I've seen, it looked like it was a pretty good game. From what videos I did see, there's a lot of things that I could have done differently and would have done differently with the game. But if I stay as close as I possibly can to the original, if I try to make an exact mirror copy of the original game, then I'm only looking out for one set of people, the people who are losing the game here in North America, and the non-Chinese people, in other words. If I make a mirror copy of that, I'm gonna have a narrowed crowd. I want that crowd to be happy, but I'm also wanting to bring other people into the game and get other people to enjoy it as well. So, if you guys get any other questions, put them in the comments of the video. These Q&As and all these live streams that I do are automatically saved. They get processed right after the stream ends, and it's automatic. I don't have to do anything. But just rest assured, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I don't want to show any of the stuff because I don't want to give anything away. I want to make people happy, and I want to be happy. So, alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, last chance for any questions. We're turning this thing off in 45 seconds. Alright. Well, I want to thank everybody for stopping in and watching. And if you're watching this after the stream is over with, thank you for sticking around and watching my green man jump up and down on the launching pad there. No, this isn't stuff from the game. This is just what fiddling around we did while talking about the games. Alright. Yeah, just in this video I showed you how to make a static mesh. Showed you how to make a static mesh out of BSP geometries and to make it out of the basic geometries. Our railing system, we created the first one, which is a fence here, was done strictly with the regular stuff here. I guess you can grab a cube and go to your materials, slice glass, put it on there, bring it up, take that and stretch that, say our Y, try our X at 0.1, and then our X will go to 4, and then 0.8. And we can do the same thing. We can grab our simple geometries, grab them all together, position them however we want to, control left click on them, and then with that you can right click on it and convert to static mesh, and you can create a static mesh just that easy. I can do another video separately on that because there's a lot of other things that go in behind that. So if I were to create that as a static mesh, I could then go to it, grab it, and drop it right into the map. And I have, like, this was a simple railing system. Or if you want to create a little small house, you want to keep replicating that house over and over and over again, you can do that. You can just Control C, Control V, or you can just drag in new copies of it and throw it in the map, and there you go. I mean, you can just that easy, either using BSP geometries or the basic geometries, and you can convert. You have to do either all of the regulars or all of the BSPs. You can't mix the two together to do it this way. If you're doing BSP geometries and you drag in a cube and a cone and you want to join the two together, you grab them both, and then you, as you can see right here on the right hand side, there's a button to create a static mesh, and once you click that, tell it where you want to go, you give it a name and create static mesh, and you can create your own static mesh out of nothing but BSP geometries. So it's got to be either one or the other. It can't be both combined together. It just doesn't like it. But if you guys want, later on this evening I'll throw together a nice little video on creating BSP geometries on Unreal Engine 4, and actually doing it so that it's with BSP geometries and with the regular meshes, so you can combine them all together and make a usable static mesh you can throw around. And then also with doing that, you can go in, like I've added collision to this one already, so if you do simple collision, there will be no collision on these. You can walk through them. So all you'd have to do is go to collision and either add a sphere, a capsule, a blocks, or if it's a bit more complex, you can try, I use 26D quite often if it's multiple facets on it, and it'll be a little bit more complex on how the actual collision works. But you can also remove collision and then go back to collision and do this one right here, and you can see what it did was it created a more rounded effect around the outside edge, but you can still see from the top of the glass to the top of the pole it did that. And if you want to look at your complex collision, that would actually be 100% the exact shape of what it is. So you can do it either way. I usually do a mixture of all of the above, and that works for me. So I'll do that later this evening if I get a chance, or if not, then I'll get that one published out for tomorrow, and we'll do a video that's just on placing your BSP geometries, shaping them to whatever you want. And I covered this in another video, but it was another hour-long video. So what I'll do is I'll just make it quick and fast, maybe a 30-minute video, tops 20-minute video, and then you can just follow along. If you miss something, you can back it up, go forward, that kind of stuff. All right, we're going to kick this pig and shut it down, and I want to thank everybody again for stopping in. Thank you for the questions on the Paragon project, and said I will get you some more good stuff to look at really, really soon. And we'll see you guys on the next video.